Welcome back to Dollars and Cents. We help you make sense out of all of life's decisions involving your investment dollars. Coming into this segment, we're going to kind of wrap up my thoughts on Social Security and talk about some of the mental aspects of retirement in general. You've got guest host Rob Field, Kristin Castello, sitting in for Joel. Joel will be back next week with his version and the next episode of Dollars and Cents. I was talking a little bit about Social Security, changes that will need to be made to sort of shore it up and avoid having any reduction in the future of benefits. So, there's 5 things that Social Security will certainly continue to look at and will make changes as quickly as possible. We talked about the full retirement age. At that point, that's where all calculations start, and it also allows you to work and collect Social Security. If they make full retirement age a little bit higher, that'll keep people from trying to work and collect Social Security until they get to that new age. Also, if full retirement age is higher, that's people are going to start realizing that probably instead of starting early at 62 or wait until 70, over time those numbers could change to 63 and 71, eventually 64, 72. They've done things like that in the past. Full retirement age has gone from 65 to 66 to 67 over the last 10 plus years. Right now, the way Social Security funds new money is taxing people's income. And so right now they tax up to $176,000. That used to be $130,000, $140,000, $150,000. It's gone up every couple of years, the amount of money they're going to tax somebody. So you'll see that number continue to go up. The other thing is the percent of taxation is right now about 6.2% of an employee's income. I could see them bumping that up to 6.4, 6.5. That has not been bantered. I'm just using kind of what I think will occur to try to bring in a little bit more money. So if you tax higher amounts and you tax it at a higher percentage, that's one way to kind of get things going. There's also the formula. Social Security looks at your best 35 years, and then they index it for inflation, and then they do little bin points to come up with the number. They could easily, index less and maybe take only a certain number of years and then discount it or change the bin points so that the amount that they're contributing or the percent that they're doing on higher people's income would go lower. That's always the big argument, is that, we want to make sure that lower income earners have some type of income that's substantial to keep us in line. As we talked about those stats before, where, there's 90% of people who, Social Security makes up a lot of their income. We cannot put those people into any kind of an economic or, a bad situation where it would be hard for them to keep up with everything like that. So, concern over future Social Security and the possibility of reduced benefits, that's why Social Security cannot be your only form for income. You certainly need to think in terms of, what other savings do you have? Do you have an IRA? Are you contributing to that? Is there a company plan at work that you're taking advantage of, especially if they offer some kind of matching? So think in terms of coordinating, making Social Security a piece of your investment portfolio, not the only thing that you'll be counting on. Now, I wanted to shift a little bit and talk about investing in general and kind of how people view retirement. Obviously, the most important part would just be collecting the money, getting money in. So you're going to want to start early, begin saving early in life, get ahead of it. We know that the earlier you start, compounding works in your favor. Invest properly. Make sure that you're getting something that is growth-oriented. Talk with your financial advisor about what investments are appropriate for you. And then at some point, you're going to generate income. And this is a point we have a lot of conversations at work at Nelson Financial Planning about making sure that the income stream you're trying to generate is in line with the amount of money that you've saved. But the other piece that I always like to talk about is sort of the mental side of retirement, because people don't always think about, how are they going to feel? How's it going to affect them? Because the retirement, it doesn't just affect your wallet. It also has a big impact on your well-being. Studies show that about 1 in 10 Americans, only 1 in 10 Americans, are equipped for this kind of transition, moving from working and earning an income to retiring and spending their savings. This creates a different mindset.
Yeah, it really does. If you go from working, 9 to 5 every single day to I don't really have anything to do, I've got all this free time, you really need to kind of think about what you're going to fill your time with in retirement, especially if you retire on the younger side.
Correct. That's a very good point. Although building the nest egg by saving and investing is an important part of preparing for retirement, experts say it's not the only thing that you really want to focus on as you get closer. You want to think about the mental side. So the way we think about retirement, it's not wrong. It's not, you do want to save money so that it can do something for you down the road. We usually think of retirement kind of as a simple, relaxing days, activity-wise. It sounds fun to everybody. Hey, I can slow down. But many don't realize that when you prepare for retirement, your career has been very busy. You've been active every day. You're getting up. You're being challenged. And then you start to go into retirement, and people get a little anxious that their mind is not being stimulated the way they want. Sometimes they'll feel their self-worth isn't as strong because they're not being asked to contribute in certain ways. Basically, they got too much time on their hands. This negative aspect of retirement, it's even larger, as you mentioned. If you're forced out, if you're older and you're forced out, or you have an illness where you didn't get to make the decision about retiring, it can really, really be troublesome. What we find that some of the biggest problems people have in retirement is boredom, and that when they get bored, they're looking for something to do. If they can't do something work-related, if they're doing all their hobbies, they suddenly want to do those hobbies and spend more money, buy larger items.
That's exactly why we build in a free time expense when we do retirement projections. So when people are getting close to retirement, when we project out their income, we build in that free time expense just because, you have all this time. So like you said, you need to find activities and things to fill that time.
Definitely. So, we feel like you got to keep that retirement plan on track. You got to communicate with your advisor. You got to think in terms of, before you even leave work, what will you do? And I always tell people, maybe take a 2-week vacation before you really retire and pretend like you're retired and do what you think you would do in retirement, and then find out, is that fulfilling?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I'd like to do that just to get 2 weeks to kind of get into that mindset. So we are coming towards the end of the show here. So as a quick recap, earlier on the program, we talked about rental real estate property and, when it makes sense to purchase that. So it seems to be a hot item these days. We've had multiple clients come in to have discussions on it. So we get it. There's a lot of factors to think about. So you've got the interest rates, the down payment, the rate of return, liquidity factors. So there's a lot that goes into it. And everybody's situation is different. So it's really not a one-size-fits-all. So we recommend that you come in, give us a call. We are happy to do an initial consultation to kind of run through these factors with you, see if it makes sense in your specific situation. So in some cases, it could run negative and you could ultimately lose money. From our example earlier, if you took out a mortgage in today's climate and you were charging the rent and the mortgage didn't really match up, then you'd actually be generating a loss. Whereas if you pay cash, you would be generating at a gain. So think ahead. Feel free to contact us. We are happy to kind of run those numbers for you.
Great point. It's from the outside, it sounds like, buy real estate appreciates. Simple as that would be a good idea, but you got to go a little more deeper in that to come up with your answer. We also talked a little bit about my favorite subject, Social Security, and kind of what's going on with it today, what may happen in the future, and what are some things that could be done to avoid any kind of problems. It's basically making sure that the people today are still taken care of and the people tomorrow have plenty of access to Social Security. So we simply talk about, you're taxing people's income, you're taking a certain percentage of it, and then you've got the trust fund. And so the trust fund is what always kind of throws people for a loop, because if the trust fund were to go to zero, people think there'd be nothing left for Social Security, but it's still funded by new money coming in from current employees. So I tell people, don't get too hung up on what they tell you about the trust fund. Think more in terms of the longer term picture. And notice that Social Security has made changes every year, increasing the amount that gets income that's done, moving up full retirement age. So I'm very confident that Social Security will always be there. It might not be in the exact form we see today, but it will stay in place to be able to help people when the time comes.
Great. Thank you, Rob, for all those updates. Well, that is all for this week's episode of Dollars and Cents. My name is Kristin Castello. I was joined with Rob Field. We're of Nelson Financial Planning. Next week, Joel Garris, your regular host, will be back. If you liked what you heard and you want to learn more about how our team of certified financial fiduciaries at Nelson Financial Planning can help change your life with a successful and cost-effective financial plan, just go to our website. It's at nelsonfinancialplanning.com and fill out the Contact Us form to set up a free conversation conversation. Or you can also call our office at 407-629-6477. We appreciate you listening in, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.